Do community colleges deserve more respect? I know a lot of us tend to associate negative stereotypes about that specific path to education, but why is that? I asked ChatGPT what words came to mind when I say community college, and although AI doesn't literally have a brain, it responded with adjectives like accessible, affordable, flexible, diverse, supportive, and even career-focused. All great things. This sounds like a path you'd be smart to take advantage of, and that's exactly what this episode's guest did. Local radio personalities Moose and Breezy host a morning show on 98PXY Rochester. Moose attended Monroe Community College here in Rochester, New York, while Breezy attended Onondaga Community College for 2 years and then transferred to Oswego. They both ended up with successful careers in broadcasting because of it, so let's understand the pros and cons of attending a 2-year college so you can decide if this is the path that would be right for you. I'm Leah Leverich, a class of 2022 high school graduate exploring every path to success after senior year. Let's expand your mind to what's out there and narrow down your options so you can make a graduation decision with confidence. You're listening to Decision Day.
The Decision Day podcast is brought to you by the Rise and Record event in Nashville, Tennessee. Rise up and share your story through video. Visit riseandrecord.com for more.
Hi, Moose and Breezy.
Hi,
Thank
Leah.
you so much
What's
for
up,
being
Leah?
here.
Thank you so much for having us.
I was so excited. You guys did a little plug of the podcast on the radio, and I was like, wait.
We always plug your show. We always plug your podcast.
We do.
Thank you
We're
so
obsessed.
much. But you were talking about community college and the stereotypes around it and how you felt when you were in high school. So I'm so excited to get into that because I know so many students can relate. I was even considering a 2+2 or something like that just because of how cost effective it is. So for those listening who have never heard your amazing personalities before, Moose and Breezy, can you describe the type of students you were like in high school?
We struggled a lot with like test taking and reading comprehension. So when we had a test, say like a Regents, for example, we would go to a separate location. We would get extra time on tests. We would get reading clarification for the questions that were being asked of us. And it's really funny because now that we're older, we can like make light of it on our show and make it feel a little more normal than it was when we were actually going through it.
Yeah.
So
it was
yeah.
a struggle. I mean, I was told that at my age that I would never be, a successful writer because I had a hard time reading anything and then digesting what I just read. I couldn't tell you the last 3 chapters I just read.
Yeah, so
That's fair.
Reading
That's-
comprehension.
okay.
And I'm dyslexic, so that was something that I struggled with a bunch of just like reading comprehension, seeing things differently. When I read nowadays, like I still need to put like something below what I'm actually reading because I can just get so jumbled.
I
Okay.
mean, but for us, I mean, high school, I would say I was a good student for the most part, like C average. By the time I got to like senior year, I was in just regular classes with all my friends doing just fine. And
Okay.
unfortunately for me, as we know, MCC is a 2-year school. I turned it into a 4-year school. So
How did you do that?
it took me longer than most people.
Yeah, so how did all of this that you faced in high school, how did that impact your academics and what you thought you could achieve after you graduated?
Well, when I got to MCC, I was extremely overwhelmed because college was a new experience. Most of my friends left state.
Okay.
They all went to, universities, and that wasn't a plan that I originally had. Lucky for me, radio is something I fell into at an early age.
Okay.
Your mother actually, I was working at a car dealership, and she came in to pick up her car, and I got an internship, and my radio path started right out of high school, and I was lucky enough to be able to have that happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know what I would be doing. Originally, the goal when I got to MCC was I was in all graphic design classes. I thought it was something I wanted to do, but most people now, they think they have to have it figured out at 18, but you can change your mind 10 times.
Yeah. When you both made the decision, did you have an actual decision day in high school when you had to have your answer of where you were going or what you were doing?
Right. So, I mean, for me, like when it comes to being a student, I was always just like a super chatty, super sidebar student. On all my report cards, it was like, she talks too much. She has trouble focusing.
They
that,
should
and
have
the third.
told you to go down this path. go
Right,
into
and
radio
I'm so
right
glad.
away.
I'm so glad that I'm here because it just fits like a glove. But I don't remember a decision day. I do remember a conversation that I had with my mom. I must have been sophomore, maybe junior in high school, and she's like, "So what's the vibe? Like, what are we doing after you do the thing and you throw the tassel and you do all?" I'm like, I I don't know. She was like, well, what about media? My cousin was in news broadcasting on TV. I was like, I don't want to do TV. I don't want to be on the news. I don't want to do all that. And she's like, well, what about radio? And it was like a light bulb went off. And she was like, because you could play a makeshift therapist while also talking, which you get in trouble for doing all the time on your report card with your teachers. Yeah. It just all came about in that one conversation with my mom.
Yeah.
But same with Moose. Like the idea of going away for college was so daunting and so overwhelming to me that I was like, because I struggled in school. We both did. So I was like, I can't go sit in a 300-person lecture hall and like comprehend what's going on. I just know myself, and that's not something that I'm comfortable with.
It doesn't align with you and how you operate. Yeah. It's not like a one-size-fits-all.
Education is not a one-size-fits-all.
My whole life, I knew from the time I was 6 years old, people would ask me, what do you want to do? And I would always tell them I want to be an actor. I always knew from a very, very young age that I was an entertainer. I didn't know why. It was always in me. But I never thought in high school it was a realistic path to take until I got it on 98PXY at a young age. And then I did pretty well, which is why ultimately years later I made the move to Los Angeles for so long. Okay. It all kind of just unfolded organically.
Right. And then when you guys did decide on, all right, I'm going to a community college, what was that decision like? How did you realize that was the right path for you? Because did you have 300-person lectures in community college?
No. I mean, like, they were a little bigger, obviously, but I felt so, like, at peace with my decision because my classes, I was going for broadcasting with a specification or a concentration in audio and radio. So my classes, I didn't, when I got into the thick of it, of like my capstones of actually getting into radio specifically, I didn't have a class more than 12 people.
Okay.
So I had such a good conversation and relationship with my classmates and my professor, and we were all just kind of a family.
Yeah. I so badly wanted to feel like I had that college experience like all of my friends who went away, which is why I was trying to grasp at straws. Like, I want to stay in the dorms. I wanted to feel like I was getting this experience of being at a university. But, when I look back at it now, I'm like, I'm so glad that everything worked out the way it was supposed to for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a place now where I'm exactly where I need to be.
Are there any other paths that you guys were considering that you didn't choose?
Another career that I chose and went into was I went into cosmetology through BOCES. So I did that 2-year program while I was still in high school. And that was something my mom pushed upon me. And like, honestly, I don't want to cut hair. Like, I'm going to be on the radio. Like, why are we doing this? This is a waste of my time. Flash forward, I graduated 13 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago, for sure. I own a braiding business, a mobile braiding business now that I put that cosmetology degree to use. And no, I don't cut hair and I don't style or dye, but I go out to pop-ups in local establishments where I braid girls' hair, do tinsel, do all the fun things, and they absolutely love it.
It's so fun. So using all of your opportunities while you were in school. So now, because you never know what education.
And the most cost-effective.
Right.
Good point. Because career and technical education, if it's not called BOCES where you're living, just while you're in high school, you took advantage of that. So I know, similar to career and technical education, but community college, how did you guys overcome the pressures or stereotypes from friends or family at that time in your life? Like, do you remember the feelings that you felt? I know, Moose, you've mentioned that you would tell your friends, like, I'm going to MCC, but I'm also going to transfer, even though you weren't sure that you were going to.
Right. I mean, the goal was 2 years at MCC, 2 years at Brockport. It was almost like this feeling of I'm ashamed to tell people that I'm going to community college, when really I was ahead of the game than most of my friends who were going to universities.
Because you had an internship.
I had already fallen into a career that I loved at such a young age, and I was getting the experience that so many people aren't able to get because they're trying to do it by getting it out of a book. But, Breezy and I are both the type of people where we're hands-on learners. The only way I absorb information is from doing it. And I was doing that every single day with my internship at PXY, and I learned so much in less than a year. And I was like, man, I none of that would have happened if I went away.
I was the same way as Moose. Like, I'm going to OCC, and then I'm transferring to. I always had to say, and then I'm going to Oswego.
I still felt that when I thought I was like, I have to make sure I add that part on. But why do we do that?
It's a societal thing. It's a societal thing, and I think one of the biggest things that I took away from going to a community college that wasn't in my hometown was there wasn't as much societal pressure or shame because I didn't grow up in Syracuse. I don't know these people.
Oh.
Like everybody who actually lived there and went to all of the local high schools in Syracuse were like 13th grade, Harvard on the Hill. Like those were all of the buzz, like little phrases that they used to describe OCC. And they felt that shame and they put that shame on themselves and other people. And I'm like, hey, I'm here just like, I'm living in the dorms. I'm going to SU parties. Like I'm living my best life. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something that, and I always say this, like no regrets, obviously, but I honestly wish I didn't go to Oswego because A, I'm still in loans. B, I didn't learn even half of what I learned at Oswego that I did at OCC because Moose said, so hands-on. I was working in the radio station at OCC. I was doing shifts every single day.
One of the luxuries I've had that took me a long time to realize is I've never had college loans. I never had college debt. Some of my friends right now who've gone to big universities still owe over 6 figures worth in debt, $120K, $100,000, and they're not even using the degree that they went to school for.
Oh my
I'm like, I
gosh.
can't think of anything more disheartening than throwing all your money out. And I don't want to say you're throwing it out. I'm sure you gained some experience and knowledge from being in school that long, but to end up not using it, yikes.
Do you think that's one of the biggest benefits of the community college is you don't have to have that extreme amount of the debt attached to it? Okay.
Yeah, it's more obtainable. And also, like, I want to share a quick story because this is something that I feel a lot of kids go through when they first get to college. They're excited. They're away from their parents and their family and their routines. They're like, I can literally just do whatever I want. My first year, like we talked about with like the special ed and the more complex learning style, I had to take these like intro classes that were either like fail or satisfactory. Like you didn't get an A, you didn't get a B. It was like a pass or fail class. And that was to even get into the first class. So the first semester was those, satisfactory courses, pass or fail, to set you up for learning and doing the homework and taking the tests. And then my second semester of my freshman year was my actual first course load. And I didn't do well because I didn't have the discipline. I failed every single class except for public speaking, classic. And it was only a half a semester course.
Makes sense.
And I got home that summer and my parents were like, let's see the grades. I'm like, the computer's broken. It's not, something's wrong. And it got to July and they're like, okay, your grades have been posted. So show us your grades.
Yeah.
And every single class was an F except for public speaking. So I got a 1 GPA. I got a 1
In community college.
In community college.
It's my favorite story.
In community college. And you want to talk about shame. That is like the ultimate shame, right? You should really be putting a little bit more thought and effort into your education, considering the fact that you're going away and your parents are paying for it, right?
Yeah.
So
it's hard though.
My parents.
It's not.
But I was doing horrible things. I was drinking. I was doing things I shouldn't be doing. I was getting caught up in the actual fun party scene of college.
Yeah.
I think I'm
That's
sharing this
relatable.
story. I'm
That's
sharing this
relatable.
story because it's important for you to make sure you have that balance. My parents took away my iPhone. They took away everything. They were like, so you're taking out loans and you're paying for this next semester. And when you show us that you can get a 3.5 GPA, we'll start paying again. But you're going to have $20,000 in loans. And yeah, it's a community college, but you got to think room and board, my tuition, food, like all of it.
Still adds up.
It's going to be
Right.
expensive. So I had to take out that loan, and that's the loan I'm paying off still.
I found a study that said 80% of community college students intend to transfer to a 4-year university, but only 31% actually transfer within 6 years of enrollment. Breezy, since you did transfer to get the 4-year, and you are part of that 31%, what were some of the positives and negatives that you faced by entering a 4-year college, but you're in your 3rd year?
Going and transferring in as a junior was a little hard because everybody had their friendships established. I really wanted to be in a sorority, and like I was a little too old to be doing that because you normally starts like freshman, sophomore year.
Yeah.
And I am a very personable, social person. I had maybe like 5 friends at Oswego, and that wasn't a lack of trying. It was just everybody was established. Everybody had their groups. It's hard to get in.
Yeah.
It just felt a little less personal, my classes. I went from a 12-person radio class to the 300-person lecture hall that I was talking about. But some of the positives, it was just, I really did get that overall college experience. I was on that big campus. And honestly, I really went to Oswego because my dad went to Oswego, and
Oh.
he really wanted me to go to Oswego. So I was a legacy to go to Oswego. My brother then ended up going to Oswego. So it was really like a dad
Peer pressure.
pushing you.
Familial,
But also, I
yeah.
mean, it is a really great broadcasting school. Steve Levy came out of there, Al Roker. Like, it is great.
Yeah.
He was the big pushing factor. I'm glad I did it. There was a lot of positive and negative, though, as well.
Why do you think that the statistics of students who pursue education beyond the 2 years is so low? Why do you think it's only 31%?
Because they don't need it. I mean, like, honestly, I felt ready to chomp at the bit into my workforce after I graduated with my associate's degree from OCC. I was ready to go. It's just always the intention. I think it's because society puts it on you. You need to go to 4 years of school. And if you don't go to 4 years, then go for your doctorate or your MBA or whatever it is. And some people literally just love school. They really
Yeah.
do. They love
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
They love learning. They love handing things in and taking tests. I am not one of those people. He's not one of those people.
I'm not either. We're talking to the wrong people in that
Right.
aspect.
But I think that they just come to terms with like, hey, I did my time. I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And there's so many other avenues to get a job these days. Normally it was, I'll show my resume. I mean, half of this building thinks I went to Geneseo. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Doesn't even matter.
Your dad didn't ask for my diploma one time. You know what I mean? So it's just so important to take advantage of social media, LinkedIn, all these different
LinkedIn.
avenues for you to find a job. Even just meeting someone in an elevator. Like,
Right.
it's those connections.
Yeah.
You have to be nice to everybody
It's
because
like-
you never know.
But to answer your question too, like after finishing the 2 years of MCC, I didn't
4
really,
years.
I didn't really, yeah, 4 years. I
Never
didn't
gonna
really
live that
want to go on to another 2-year school. I was just over it.
Yeah.
I wanted to get into now that I had the internship,
Right.
I experienced what it is that I wanted to do at an early age. I'm like, okay, let's just hit the ground running.
So in 2024, the majority of students at community colleges are majoring in liberal arts, health professions, business, and trades. Do you think that these degrees are worth it in 2024?
Possibly the first 2 years of community college is really you figuring out, hey, what am I interested in? So you want to take those 2 years to figure it out. We're always going to need healthcare.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a waste of time, but the beauty of community college in places like MCC is when you're there, it's not going to cost a buttload of money to change your major. You
That's
can-
the time to be
Flexible,
Yeah.
and figuring it out.
And curious.
And that's what I did. I went from graphic design to communications to theater. And like I said, I didn't have any college debt.
So was your degree and your overall experience worth it for both of you specifically?
I think my community college degree was,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I would say 100%. I'm happy with the route that I took.
I think about myself and I think about the $500 a month I have to pay in student loans, and I went to a community college. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, this is big time stuff. People who go to Harvard or whatever and they're taking out loans, like I have my cousin's literally in med school right now. She's going to be paying loans for the rest of her life, and yeah, she's going to be a doctor, but that's
At
not
what
a
cost?
that's
At
not a
what
$500.
You're getting passionate.
You know what I mean? That's not a $500
Yeah.
a month loan. That's a $1,200 a month loan.
Do you think that you're using the degree you're paid for and you're still paying for right now in your job in radio?
I do.
You are using it.
I do.
I would agree with that. I'm in a position where I just learned so much from actually doing it in my internship that when I got to class and they started to teach me, they do it this way, and I was very combative because I'm like, no, that's not how you do it at all.
Because
You
you've
know,
already seen it.
I'm
in the
already
real
doing
world.
it. I'm in it right now.
You're like, I
and-
did it this morning, actually.
Right. And that's really what it was. And so for me, I was just like, I realized right then and there that the things that I want to, my career path and what I really want to do, I'm not going to learn it from being in a class in a book. I'm just not going
Yeah.
to do it because like I said earlier, I'm a hands-on learner.
Leah, I think it's also so important to note that Moose and I have a show together, and we both were interns on PXY. Like, that's huge. You know what I mean? And getting those internships and experience, you're going to learn more there, like Moose is saying, than you might in a book, depending on the type of learner you are. But once you get your foot in the door, my internship at PXY, my mentor was my co-host for 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's just, you never really know where those connections are going to lead you. And I think if you work hard, stay humble, and be kind, you will be fine in
Yeah.
whatever career path you choose.
What are
period.
some of the biggest lessons that your internships taught you that college didn't?
how to just learn how to be confident in who you are. Because I was very, very hesitant of the person I thought I needed to be if I wanted to be on the radio. And it wasn't until the first 2 to 3 years where I started interning on the morning show and I started to kind of adapt to how things were done. But I also grew a lot of confidence in who I was.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I think people actually really like me. They're like, I can just worry about being myself. And that's what I started to do. And I think that's where my success started to finally take off.
I think for me, it's just like building those connections, whether it be with coworkers, whether it be with higher ups that are going to hire you someday, whether it be with clients that are someday going to lead to an endorsement opportunity or a further partnership in other forms. I have been on the show for 5 years now, and I have done countless community involvement, MC events, just going out and making sure that you're so integrated into the community. Although you're not being paid, although they're not spending money with the station, it will lead to something further, whatever that may be, or it'll just fill your cup and be like, you're a good person and you're integrated in this community. 150%.
Yeah.
So if a student right now is listening and they're very interested in the job that you're describing in broadcasting, in radio, in media, what are some traits that an on-air personality needs to have?
Personality.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Okay.
I mean, that's rule number one.
Yeah.
You know, you
That's
can
a
be
no-brainer.
super smart and educated and all that stuff, but why do people want to listen to you if, you know, you have the personality of drywall? It wouldn't make sense. You see what I'm saying? So personality is huge.
Yeah, we've definitely had a couple interns in the past where we're like, maybe you should be more like salesy type of
But there are
vibe.
different positions,
There are
right?
so many
There's
different
back
positions.
end.
There's so many different
Engineer.
positions in radio. And if you want to be in radio and you are dead set on an on-air personality, I would honestly encourage you to stay curious because you might be dead set. I need to be on the air. I need to, but you could be crushing it in sales and you don't even know that's a talent that you need to tap into yet. I think that's one of the biggest things about an internship is that you have that opportunity to do on air, to do engineering, to do sales, to do promotions, whatever the case may be. And you could find, hey, actually, I really like throwing events and I get a lot of joy out of that and organizing. I think I want to do promotions.
Yeah.
And that can lead you to the next thing.
When you talk about it, you have to really figure out, does it excite you? Because when I was doing graphic design, it was just safe. But when I came into the radio station, I wanted to be there 24/7 and never leave, even though I wasn't getting paid. And my father was getting pissed because like these people are taking advantage of you. I was like, Lee, you got to trust me on this.
Yeah.
It's going to work out. But there's nowhere else I wanted to be because I was always overwhelmed with joy when I was at the station. I'm like, if I can make a career being at a place I love, then I've won.
It all sounds so much fun. Stay tuned this November 2024. I'm going to be doing a job shadow video version of working in radio so you can get the full experience of what it looks like and feels like to have this job if you are interested. So stay tuned for that. The audience favorite last question. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say to this. What mistakes do you see young people making?
Well, we had an intern that just like didn't show up one day and didn't communicate. And I think just like being overly communicative and telling people what's going on and not brushing things off when you make a mistake. It's like, oh, well, sorry. It's like, that's sorry. No, like, hey, I'm really sorry that happened. I won't let that happen again. That is so not my character.
Yeah.
Being so, I just don't get a lot of sincerity and people being genuine.
I think for me, it's all about accountability. And there's nothing that drives me more up the wall than just somebody like Breezy said, who just, no big deal. Because for me, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if you have an opportunity and someone's giving it to you, take advantage of it because it doesn't come around all the time. And the people that don't take advantage of it and brush it off are the ones where I just, those are the ones I don't want to give a second chance to.
And the people
Taking it
that just like
seriously.
go through the motions.
Show some initiative, you know, act like you want to be there. And if you don't, fake it.
But not too much initiative.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Decision Day. And thank you both for sharing your knowledge with us. Where can they find you on social media and how do they listen to 98PXY?
Breezy on Air.
Hi, Moose.
And you can listen to us on that free Odyssey app. Just search out 98PXY. PXY Mornings with Moose and Breezy is our show. And you can follow us on Instagram at 98PXY Rochester as well.
And an old-fashioned radio, 97.9.
There you go. And it's available podcast, right?
PXY Mornings with Moose and Breezy, wherever podcasts are available.
Beautiful. Join the community on social media at Decision Day Podcast or at Leah Leverich. And please share what you're unsure about so that I can help you make your graduation process so much easier. You can even send in requests of careers or industries that you want to learn more about. Thank you for listening. I can't wait to share a new perspective with you in the next episode. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Leah.
Thanks, Leah.
Oh, a clapping ending. We've never had that.
The clapping.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Day podcast. If you know a student in high school, ask them to listen or share an episode with them. And as always, we love hearing from you. Share your stories with us on social, Decision Day Podcast. Until next week. The Decision Day podcast is brought to you by the Rise and Record event in Nashville, Tennessee. Rise up and share your story through video. Visit riseandrecord.com for more.